In this video, you will get a short story about the Cocoon Crawler, only on Paranormal, True or False. It is free to subscribe, so please subscribe. A slight rustling could be heard in the corner of the attic. A cocoon was moving. It was clear something was about to emerge as the sides of the cocoon was being picked apart. A small gray and black striped worm with red eyes and a yellow snout emerged from the cocoon. It was barely an inch long, but it didn't move like most worms. It moved quickly, and it was in the middle of the attic near the door in a blink of an eye. It squeezed through a crack in the door and slid down the wall. Below the attic, a couple slept. The cocoon crawler slid into the bed with the sleeping couple. It nestled itself in the woman's hair at the base of her skull. Its mouth opened, and a needle-sharp tongue pierced the spinal column at the point of the brainstem. It injected a paralyzing agent into her body, rendering the woman immobile. Then the needle-sharp tongue suctioned out all of her body fluid, embalming her in minutes. She quickly became shriveled and shrank, while the worm became larger and larger. Finally, the worm's mouth was bigger than the woman's head. It removed its tongue and opened its mouth wide to ingest her dehydrated body whole. By the time it reached her feet, it was as big as the woman was. After consuming the woman, it slowly moved to the edge of the bed. As it slid off the bed, the shifting of the weight on the mattress started to wake the man up. When the tail of the worm thumped onto the floor, the man became fully awake and called out for his wife. As it slithered under the bed, it jostled the bed frame, startling the man even more. He realized his wife was not beside him and became immediately concerned. He called out to her, but he didn't hear her. It took him a minute to get the lights on and get his glasses on. The man got out of bed and searched in the bathroom. She was not there. He then left the bathroom and started searching the rest of the house. He could not find her. Her purse wasn't missing. The cars were not missing. No matter where he looked, he could not find her anywhere in the house. In a panic now, he opened every closet door. He opened all the cabinets, in spite of the fact that they were too small to fit a human being. He started removing cushions from furniture and bed coverings from all the beds in the house. He looked under the bed, and the needle-sharp tongue pierced him between the eyes. A few days later, a family celebrates a grandmother's 100th birthday. The party was nice and pleasant, but several family members kept questioning where a couple of people were. The next day, the granddaughter goes to the couple's house. She had called both her parents multiple times, but they were not answering. She sees the cars in the driveway, so she knows the couple is home. She knocks, no one answers. She finally pulls her keys out and enters the home. She had not lived with her parents in nearly 2 decades. She sees her mother's purse on the table. She sees her father's wallet and keys. In concern, she called out to her parents, but they were not answering. She looks throughout the house, becoming increasingly more worried. She even looks in the backyard, but doesn't find anyone. Now, truly scared and worried, she starts calling family members. Multiple family members and friends arrive. They start calling hospitals, employers, neighbors, and friends, trying to find the couple. They learn that the couple have not been to work all week. None of the hospitals have anyone fitting the description of the couple, so they finally filed a police report for missing persons. The daughter suspects foul play and explains that to the police. The police send a couple of officers out to look around and collect evidence. The daughter shows the police how the house is ransacked and it looked like somebody was looking for something. When the police begin their search, they find that one of the bedroom windows is broken, but it was broken from the inside, as the broken glass was on the outside. As the police officer is taking pictures of the window, the worm, hiding under the bed, had shrunk back down to an inch. It quickly moved to the officer's right foot and attached itself to his boot that was covered by his pant leg. The officer did not notice. Later that day, the officer was running after an armed suspect. The cocooned crawler did not like the pounding of the boot on the asphalt. When the officer came to a stop, the worm quickly moved off the boot and towards the curb. The worm spotted a sanitation worker near a manhole down the street. The worker finished putting cones around the manhole and proceeded to remove the lid and slide down the ladder. The worm quickly followed and slid down the wall behind him. Just as the man reached the bottom step, the worm launched itself onto the hard hat. The man heard something and looked up, but didn't run his hand over the helmet. He just figured it was some type of waste that had dropped onto his hat. He removed his hard hat and flicked it to get whatever had fallen on it to fall off. He then looked at his hat and decided it was fine, and he put it back on his head. He did not notice prior to removing his hat the worm had slid down to the man's collar. The man turned and moved deeper into the tunnel, then suddenly collapsed, unable to move. While sitting on the collar, the worm injected its needle-like tongue into the man's spinal column, paralyzing him instantly. The worm once again drained all the fluids from the man's body, then devoured him completely. Later that day, the supervisor of the sanitation worker came to check on the job site. He radioed the worker. No response. He went down the ladder and yelled for the worker. No response. He walked deeper into the tunnel and stopped as the worst smell he ever encountered hit his nose. In front of him was a 2-foot by 3-foot lump of what appeared to be decomposing skeleton. It looked like human bones to him. The supervisor immediately left the tunnel in a hurry and contacted the police. The police and the paramedics arrived. Both agreed the medical examiner's office needed to be called in. As the medical examiner looked over the scene, 3 human skulls could be seen. It appears the bones were crushed and nearly liquefied, and yet the skin seemed dried and pruned. These remains perplexed the ME. Toxicology would definitely be needed to determine what chemical was used to leave these bodies in this condition. The remains were bagged and taken to the morgue. Unbeknownst to them, the worm had turned itself inside out to camouflage itself within the remains. In the morgue, the bag full of human remains was placed on the examination table. The technician started preparing the equipment needed for the autopsy. While his back was turned, the worm transformed it back and swallowed the remains. The technician heard a strange noise behind him. He turned and saw the bag was empty. Completely confused, he rushed over and unzipped the bag. Immediately, the worm rushed out onto the tech's arm. The tech gasped, jumped back, and swatted the worm off his arm. The worm hit the floor near the door. The ME heard the ruckus and charged through the door, stepping on the worm. Immediately, the ME was thrown off his feet by the explosion of the human remains bursting from the worm. The cocoon crawler was dead, but the morgue was left in utter chaos, with human remains splattered on the ceiling, walls, living humans, and on the floor. Glass was broken, equipment and tables were knocked over. The morgue was sealed until biological experts could determine the extent of the contaminant. The technician, the ME, along with others who rushed in, were sealed inside the morgue, waiting to be released from this new hell in their lives. They were not released until the next day. Hidden in the splattered remains, in the corner of the ceiling, a new cocoon dangled. The end. I hope this experiment with fictional writing entertained you. I hope this short story made your skin crawl just a little bit. I don't have the ability to draw, to actually animate this story, so I had to work with the editing tools that I had available. So I apologize if the video visual was not as good as the story or distracted from the story. If you enjoyed this short story and want me to write more, please let me know in the comments below. The links for other social media platforms for this channel and for Jim is in the description below. Always be safe. It is free to subscribe. Please subscribe. There are many more videos you can watch, and you can click on the attached playlist card to see some of them. Thanks for watching Paranormal, True or False.